morning and good afternoon, wherever you may be. Today, we're going to be talking about two things. One is patriotism, and the other is treachery, and also the role of the armed forces in a nation's life. And emphasis will be on Nigeria because Nigeria is, a case study right now, and also being that I am identified as a Biafran. I have to talk about Nigeria because Biafra is in the quest of exiting Nigeria and why that is imperative and important that that exit, it comes to reality. One, when you are happy, you have good things of life, as an example, you are at peace and you have joy and you look at your neighbor, you get along with your neighbor, your children, have opportunities. You look at your children and you know that their future is secure. Then you will not advocate to destroy that is good, that is working. The only time you will advocate to destroy something is when that something it's no longer working or that something becomes an impediment to your progress, to your advancement, to your existence, to your survival. And that is the situation that the Nigerians today find themselves. And of all Nigerians, only one group of people have a solution to the problem. And that group of people happens to be the Biafrans, majority the Igbos. You see, because the Biafrans are people that are upward moving, people that travel a lot. They go to places and they build. They are nation builders. That's what they are. They are community builders. That's what they are. They go to communities, they invest in the community, they build in the community, they become part of the community, they have their children in the community, they build their homes in the community, and they, contribute to the advancement of that community as well. So these are people that build nations because from small communities to bigger communities, from bigger communities to states, and you build nations. So these are nation builders compared to, for instance, the Fulanese or for instance, even the Yorubas as an example. These two groups are not, and that's very evident in Nigeria. So uh, Nigeria is, the point of discussion today. And the reason why I chose the topic patriotism and treachery is because this is playing out in Nigeria today. Nigeria as a nation is a treacherous country. It's not a patriotic country. And Nigerians as citizens are not patriotic citizens because there's no reason to be patriotic. To be a patriotic citizen, as an example, you have to love that country. There has to be love for that country. There has to be love for that entity. You have to feel that entity. You have to feel joy in your heart and you're willing to defend and fight for that entity. That is patriotism because you know that you have a good thing. You have a loving country, a country that takes care of its citizen, and its citizen will take care of it. And that is why, you are patriotic. You see, patriotism is a special affection for one's own country. A sense of personal identification with the country itself. You have this special concern for the well-being of the country. You're willing to sacrifice to promote the country's good. You obey the laws, you respect authorities, you contribute to society, and community perform, from you perform community civic duties, as an example. You love your country. Because you are patriotic, you are courteous and you respect the rights of others, which is important. Again, there is trustworthiness and honesty. And then there is tolerance, which is very, very important. And these are the ingredients of patriotism. For one to be patriotic, you have to embody these ingredients in order for you to be a patriotic person. And also a nation also have to embody these ingredients in order to be a patriotic nation. You see, patriotism in two ways. The individuals, the citizens are patriotic to the country, and the country is patriotic to the citizens. That means, in reverse, the country have affection for its citizens. It has sense of personal identification with its citizens. It has concern for the well-being of the citizens. It's willing to sacrifice to promote the citizens' good. The country is a country of law and respect for authority. And also it's a country that encourages its citizens to be what good and successful, communities. And also it's a nation that loves, her citizens as well you know, and it's both ways. It's a nation that is trustworthy and a nation that is honest, which is very, very important, and a nation that is tolerant, which is also important. Now, when you look at all this, we talk about affection for one's own country. Let's look at a Nigerian citizen. Does a Nigerian citizen have affection for their country? The answer is no. And then we look at the other, the reverse. Does the country of Nigeria have affection for our citizens? The answer is no. Now, too, we look at personal identification with that country. Do Nigerians truly, patriotically identify with Nigeria? The answer is no. And does Nigeria as a nation truly, patriotically identify with our citizens? The answer is no. And then we also go into the willingness to sacrifice to promote the country's good. As an example. Now, if you love your country, if you cherish your country, and you know that your country is good, not just to you, that your country is good to all the citizens of that country, you are willing to fight for your country. You are willing to promote your country, the well being of your country. You are willing to promote the image of your country, to make sure that your country have a good image, by being a law abiding citizen. And in return, your country will also be loyal to you because your country will always protect you. No matter where you are on earth, your country will look after you. Your country will ask for you. Your country will be concerned if they have not heard from you, like say for instance, the embassy. They'll be concerned that they haven't heard from their citizens. Nigerians go abroad, they register with their embassies because they know that their embassy will be there looking out for them, their interest. But is that the case? No. Nigerians don't register with their embassies when they are abroad. They don't do that because there is no connection between the Nigerian citizen and the Nigerian institutions like the embassies. The only time the connection is there is when you need instruments to enable you to conduct certain transactions. Businesses, it could be passport, it could be traveling documents, and things like that. That is when now you go to your embassy for those things. But outside of that, you don't. And your embassy can care less about you. So we are talking about institutions in Nigeria and the country as in Nigeria. It's Nigeria a patriotic country? And the answer is no. The answer is no. Do Nigerians obey the law? The answer is no. They don't obey the law. The law in Nigeria, as an example, it's tilted in favor of the powerful and the rich. They are the ones that make the law. They are the ones that break the law all the time, and they are the ones that the law favor. So Nigeria, in a way, is a lawless country. So when you look at this, you know, how do you defend Nigeria as a nation? Because I hear some people, oh, I love Nigeria. Nigeria is beautiful. Nigeria is this and that. But, my question is, just give me one reason why you love Nigeria. Because the love for Nigeria, as an example, is based on interest. It's totally based on interest. That means if you are making it out of Nigeria, making money, which is based on corruption, you will love Nigeria because Nigeria provide the enabling environment, the correct environment for you to make money. But if you are not, you have no love for the place. Every day you out there, being beaten by the sun. You're working hard, trying to make an honest living. Yet, you're not getting it. But those people that are not making any honest living, they are corrupt, they are thieves, they are the ones making it. They're the ones getting rich. You know, and people, who, as an example, pray, to God to make them prosper. And you go to church, you obey the law, the rules, spiritual rules, and all that, and you pray all the time. And then your neighbor, he doesn't even go to church, he doesn't even care, he doesn't pray to God. But you notice he is the one that is getting rich. He is the one that is making it. And he is the one that is lawless. He doesn't believe in the law, but yet he is being rewarded by the system. When that happens, when you are in a system that rewards lawbreakers, that rewards thieves, then you know that you are in trouble. That country will never ever provide an enabling environment for an honest person to make it, and that is Nigeria. How can you be patriotic to a country like that? It's impossible. And that is the reason why Nigerians are not patriotic. And the country as a nation is not patriotic to our citizens either. So it goes both ways. And that now takes us to the institutions in Nigeria, because institutions matter. Institutions will make a nation. When the institutions are working well, then the nation will work well. When institutions are not working well, then the nation falls apart. And that is what is happening to Nigeria. It's been ongoing even before independence, as a matter of fact, because there was never consensus among Nigerians, as to what kind of country they want. There was never consensus because Nigeria, had different components to it. Components part that were mixed, kind of put together, even though it does not fit, but they had to be put together by force, even though those people that did that knew quite well that it wasn't possible, that there was no cohesiveness, there was no sense of nationhood, there was no consensus in building a nation, but they put it all together. And Nigeria have been limping since then, and faltering and falling and falling. Nigeria keeps falling, and people keep saying, oh, it's going to get better because Nigeria is going to climb out of that hole. But it hasn't happened. Instead, they keep falling, deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into that hole. So it's not possible to redeem such a country, no matter what you say. You may say, oh, Peter, B, let me tell you something. Even Jesus Christ cannot function in Nigeria. It's impossible for him because God does not dwell in an environment of sin. God does not dwell where there is sin. God is righteous. So God cannot save Nigerians because God is not listening to you, because that country of Nigeria is very demonic. It's a country that kills. It's a country that suffers its citizens. It's a country that takes pleasure in seeing that their fellow citizens suffer for no just reason. It's a country that takes pleasure in seeing that her citizens are unhappy, uncared for. That is what Nigeria is. And I don't think any sane person, will be proud, patriotic in that country. So let's talk about institutions. So now I'm going to focus on two institutions. One is the presidency for Nigeria. That I think that's what you guys call it, and the other will be on the security infrastructure of Nigeria that you have today, to see, you know, if this is a functioning, uh, country or institutions. Now, what is the role of the president? Of course, you elect the president, who is the president or head of the presidency, that is what Nigerians call the presidency, whatever they call. I don't know what it means, but he is the head of a state, the country, And being that election is based on democratic principles, whereby you have to go to the people and seek for their consent, for their vote to put you in office, in exchange, you promise them, this is what I'm going to do to make things better. This is what I'm going to do to move the country forward. That is democracy. In exchange, people will say, okay, he is going to do something this or that. Let's vote for him. And then you garner a majority vote and you are elected and you become president. And now, the moment you become president, you know, the first thing you have to do as a president is to reconcile the different components of your society. Because during the electioneering campaign, as an example, a lot of things may be said and a lot of, hard feelings and all that. But to govern, you will need the support of your, fellow citizens. And that is why the first thing you do is to reconcile with even your political opponents, you know, extend your hands of friendship to them, and and then start building your administration and executing the promises that you made to the people. And that is also the way, when your tenure ends, maybe you have two terms as an example, the first term, and you can go back to the people and ask for their consent, ask for their support, ask for their vote. When you do that, you're now letting them know that, look, I promised you this 4 years ago, or five, or whatever, and I have done it. And you have evidence to show that you have kept your promise and that you have done, what you promised to do for them. And the people are happy. And of course, if they are happy, they're going to vote for you. If they're unhappy because you have not executed the plans that you promised, of course, they will vote for someone else that they feel, well, that person will be maybe the best person to get the job done. That is democracy for you. That is free and fair democracy for you. A democracy where there is consensus, as an example. And also democracy driven by the citizens, not by the leaders. In Nigeria, the opposite is the case. Democracy is not driven by the citizens themselves. Democracy rather is driven by the leaders and by the elites. And by so doing, the only way they can drive democracy at that top is through corruption, through treachery, and treason, as a matter of fact, you know, and through crime. Now, when democracy is not driven by citizens, it is now corrupt democracy. Because what it means is that the votes of the people does not count because you do not depend on their vote to be elected. And that is what Nigeria is today. Nigerian politicians do not depend on the people's consent in order to govern because what happens, they have found a way to corrupt the system whereby people go through the motion. That's what's going on in Nigeria. You simply go through the motion, the exercise of democracy. But in reality, that will not count. You stand in line, you're looking for, they set a time, they set a date, they said, okay, that's the day of the election, and that day comes, everybody goes, they will stand in line and they want to vote. And sometimes you have this strong feeling that you want a change of government. You want something different, something better. And you stand in line, maybe raining, it may be sunny, but you are there and you cast your vote and you say to yourself, I've done it. I am proud of myself. I have voted for my candidate and he is going to win. Then you go home. And guess what happens? You hear about the ballot boxes being snatched, or even it doesn't matter because they don't count them because they have corrupted the system, the elites. Don't forget that even the so-called election umpires, they are part of the elite. They are appointed by the governing body or the governing entity, the president or whoever. So they are there to serve the purpose that they were, you know, put in there. And that purpose is not to serve the people, the interest of a nation, by promoting democracy, by being able to make it transparent. No, they are there to serve the the purpose of those people that put them in office. And that is Nigeria democracy. It is corrupt. It's not democracy. It is election by selection. That's what they do. Just like also when you look at Nigerian census, Nigeria have never had an honest census. They have never had an honest census. What they have done is census by allocation. And that's why it started by the British, don't forget. It didn't start with Nigerians because, when the British colonial government decided to create the representation, as an example, and by, creating constituencies, electoral constituencies, as an example. What they did was to give the North, you know, as a singular entity majority, then of course, the Southwest and the Southeast combined could have majority, but unfortunately, they know that, they will never work together. And since they don't work together, as an example, then the North will, become majority. And that is what happened in Nigeria. So that is also corruption. The system was already corrupted before even Nigerians, took it, but Nigerians have taken it to a higher level. So now, when you look at elections in Nigeria and the dishonesty of the international community, because when they come there, the EU, everybody's coming there to observe the election. What Nigerians have to understand is they are not there to make sure that the election is free and fair. They are simply there to make sure that the process goes through, but not the sincerity of the spirit of the process. So what it means that they are not interested in free and fair election where the person that gets the most vote will be pronounced, the winner. No. They are there for the motion, simply that Nigerians have to go through the motion, the exercise itself, and not the outcome. They are not concerned about the outcome. They are concerned about the process of the exercise itself. Or the Nigerians stand in line, they do their voting, people get killed in the process. That's okay. They will look at it. Nigeria have 200 million people, maybe about 10,000 get killed. That is acceptable. Nothing happens. Everybody goes back to their home country, and Nigeria is democracy. When they truly know that Nigeria is not a true democracy, that Nigeria have a convoluted democratic principles, and that will never ever get better because it's going to get worse. Because everybody knows, like Buhari as an example, Buhari knew that if somebody else had taken over from the party, they would have probed him, and by probing not just him, but all those people that worked him and stole a lot of money. So he has to put somebody that, just as corrupt as he is, so that that person will cover him. Just like Tinubu also, he's not going to put someone else there, allow someone like Peter Obi to come in there. No way, because Peter Obi may end up probing him, or if not him, probing those people that support him. But he will not do it. So he's going to put somebody that he trusts eventually, to win from the north. So, and that is how it's going to go. Nigerians will never reap the benefit. They will never know what true democracy is. Nigerians talk about dividends of democracy, but in reality, it's all slogan. So now that in itself, it's also treachery. The Nigerian, ruling class, the Nigerian elites, they are treacherous to the country. They are not loyal to the country. They are only loyal to the gains that they can get through corruption. They can care less about the country. And that cuts across, we talk about the presidency. Now we're, going to talk about, the security institution. So we now look at the corruption of presidency, winning an election when they did not win, because election is by proclamation. That's simply what it is in Nigeria. And it's by selection, not really by election. The citizens go through the motion. They are deceived. They have to go through the motion. For the international community to say that Nigeria is a democratic country when it's not. And the international community knows quite well that Nigeria is not, but the international community is not interested in, putting sanctions, doing all this to force the Nigerian government to change, because one, when you benefit from something, even though it is correct, you're not going to fight it. So the international community are benefiting from Nigerian state through mineral resources and what have you not. And they are getting it, at, you may say, cheaper than other countries in terms of regulations and things like that. There's nothing there that restricts them in Nigeria. They can drill oil, let it spill, burn it, whatever. Nobody questions them. So the system is corrupt and they know that it's corrupt, but it provides an enabling environment for them to operate with total disregard to the well-being of the people because they have the consent of the ruling class. And that is why the Niger Delta is polluted. Nobody has done anything about it. Nobody has said anything about it. So this is all corruption, and this is also lack of patriotism when it comes to Nigerian citizens. Treachery is in the DNA of Nigerians. Believe it. It is in their DNA. So now let's go to, the presidency still. As let's say Buhari was president, and Tinubu being president, and we noticed during the time of Buhari, we noticed the systematic killing of people, people being driven, out of their home, being driven out of their villages, and foreigners, non-Nigerians. These are French-speaking, people coming in to inherit the homes of these people. And these people were not Nigerians, and they are still coming. They are not Nigerians. I was watching, online broadcast a few, maybe 2 hours ago, about some Malam from Sokoto State, talking about this group of people that came from different parts of, Africa. They don't speak English. They speak French. But they are Islam, they are Fulanese, and they are taxing the people taking over local governments in Sokoto State. And this is a country that have presidency and a country that have forces. And this is happening. And the worst part of it is Nigerians are not asking questions. But what they have done, to you is to just like, they try to use Peter B, to deflect, the interest of and the attention of, Biafrans from the Biafran project to put their eyes back into Nigeria because that's what P2B saw. Not that P2B was going to win. The British knew that, but the British wanted him, to pull the Igbos back into Nigeria. And that's what P2B have been trying to do. Not necessarily to help the Igbos. He's not going to help you. Take a good example, Jonathan, as an example. When he was president, Konjiwala was the finance minister. She was very terrific as a finance minister, in terms of, economic development, infrastructure. She was good, but she was good towards the north. She was good towards the west because the investments in infrastructure were going on in the north, going on in the west. Lagos, as an example, but none was in the east. None. None was in what used to be the Midwestern region or south part of South South. None. There was nothing. But she was a terrific finance minister. We all know that. But when it came to economic development, when it came to infrastructure, they built railroad from Abuja to Kaduna, as an example, and Lagos rail and what have you not. They got concessions from the Chinese and all that. They got loans to build this, but there was none for the East and the South. None. But she's married to, she's an Igbo woman from the West Bank of the Niger, married to an Igbo man from the East Bank of the Niger, but she didn't do anything for, either region that's, she's affiliated with. She didn't, And Jonathan himself built a lot of schools for, House of Children, trying to get them educated so that they will be a good citizen you know. But that infuriated the elites in the north because they use these, kids, making sure that these kids are not educated, they are not, they don't know their rights, they control them using religion and all that. They use them as foot soldiers when it comes to conflict. And with Jonathan trying to educate these kids, that means that the North will lose, their asset when it comes to causing mayhem. And that's what happened. So after Jonathan left office, did Buhari continue with Jonathan's project? No, he didn't, because he was part of that northern elite. So, when you look at it, Obi is not going to help you, from the east or from the Delta region or whatever. He's not going to do anything. His attention and focus will be to satisfy the north, just like Jonathan, and also satisfy the west. That's where the attention is going to be. They can care less about you in Biafra land, as an example. So, but now when we look at it, Buhari was president. And during this tenure, you have foreigners coming into Nigeria to take over Nigerian homes, to take over Nigerians' land, to take over Nigerians', commonwealth. And these are foreigners. But Buhari said nothing, just because he was part of the plan. It was a scheme that they, came up with, some time ago. It was an international scheme. It's not just Nigeria alone. People don't know that what's happening in Nigeria has international dimension to it, you know. But the thing is, who will execute, the plan when the plan was conceived and all that through the conference they had, sometime ago in Abuja. The question is, how do we execute this plan? And being that the Fulanese in the north dominated the north, and and also they have influence, over the security forces, as an example, because since the end of the war in Nigeria, the Nigerian army have always been a northern dominated army, then followed by minority domination by the West, the Yoruba. So the Nigerian army have always been a northern Yoruba army. That's how it's been, you know, because they won't allow an Igbo man to ascend to the highest, position, you know, or allow a South man to ascend to the highest position in the security forces. No, because they don't trust you. You see, that's the thing. They don't trust you because they know when you have conscience, you're going to ask questions. They are afraid that, you will not tolerate their shenanigans, their corruptions, their stealing and all that, that you're going to, take them out of the office because of your sincerity and your devotion to duty to your country. It's a patriot. So they know that Biafrans are patriotic people, that they are patriotic to the country. As a matter of fact, that Nigeria is Nigeria today as a nation is because of the Biafrans. They are the ones that are building Nigerians, in all sincerity. So, when you look at it, with Buhari's action and all that, that is treason. When the president of a country, he swore by the constitution of that country to do what? To protect and to defend. And yet, when foreign invasion of Nigeria started, Buhari did nothing. Not only that, they encouraged the foreign invaders to kill his fellow citizens. That is treason. So your presidency have committed treason. And Tinubu coming in said he's going to start from where Buhari stopped. Well, it's still simple by saying that it's simply saying that Buhari did a good job, but I'm going to do it better. And doing it better means you will suffer more because Buhari's game plan because everything happening in Nigeria today, Nigerians don't know. It is all part of the scheme to subdue Nigerians and then to do what? To force you into believing in something that normally you will not believe to. And that is what Islam. That is it. To Islamize you. All the suffering you're going through in Nigeria today, the pains you're going through in Nigeria today, it's because they have made the determination that they are going to force you to become a Muslim because they want Nigeria to become 100% Islamic country. And not only that, because when I say that what is happening in Nigeria has international dimension, this is a group of people, organization that has come together to identify Nigeria as a weak point that they could, Nigeria to be the first country that in Africa, as an example, that is weak but is very rich. That if they are able to get Nigeria, then they will use the resources of Nigeria now to expand their Islamic belief. If they succeed in taking over Nigeria as a whole, watch out. Cameroon, Togo, Benin, Ghana, go into Central Africa and spreading throughout Africa. And that's what's coming next. When you look at Dangote, what he's doing, going to different countries, buying up cement industries, whatever. That is, that's part of the scheme. People don't know. And that is what is going to happen if they completely take over Nigeria. Because what they have done is to set up their people as foot soldiers, as scouts, as an example, to go out there and take a look at the land. And then they will follow through. So that is treason that Buhari committed. And it's treason by the presidency. And it continues up till today because you have IDP camp, internally displaced people. Why are people displaced in their own country? Think about it. And the government have done nothing about it. The armed forces have done nothing about it because all of them are in cahoots. The armed forces of Nigeria have been collected. They also have committed treason against the state because what is the principal responsibility of a nation's army? Let's be truthful. What are the principal responsibilities of a nation army? Now, in order to, so I don't want people to say, oh, he doesn't know what he's saying or what have you not. I'm going to reference the United, and I'm going to reference or mention Executive Order 9877. And that Executive Order 9877 was enacted July 26, 1947, by the then President of the United States. And that president was Harry Truman. And that was after World War II. Before World War II, the United States didn't have an integrated army. They have, the major, armed forces are white, and they have minority armed forces for blacks. They were separate, you know, throughout World War II. But it was Harry Truman that integrated the armed forces. And he set out an executive order in the functions of the armed forces. I'm going to read a few lines. And here it goes. And this was published July 26, 1947. And he said, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and laws of the United States, and as President of the United States and Commander in Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States, I hereby prescribe the following assignment of primary functions and responsibilities to the three armed services. And what are the three armed services? You have the Army, you have the Navy, you have the Air Force. Although now you can say four because you have the Marine Corps. Section 1. These are responsibilities. The common missions of the armed forces of the United States are 1. Support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign or domestic. Listen, Section 1 says the common mission of the armed forces of the United States are 1. To support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign, domestic. 2. To maintain by timely and effective military action the security of the United States, its possessions, and areas vital to its interests. Listen, so to maintain by timely and effective military action the security of the United States, its possessions, and areas vital to its interest. So now tell me, when you have bandits, coming in from Niger, other parts of Africa into Nigeria. The role of the Nigerian security forces, like the U.S. now says, Section 2, to maintain by timely and effective military action when this incursion started or invasion started. Nigerian security forces should have swung into action right away to intercept, interdict these bandits, these infiltrators, these, anarchists, these people that are around killing Nigerians on a timely manner, intercept, interdict, and destroy or take action against these elements. But they did not. So if your military did not take actions to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria and protect the citizens of Nigeria from being killed by foreigners, then what does that tell you about that security force? Does it tell you that this is a truly security force that is there to protect the people, or a security force that is siding with foreigners, with mercenaries, with bandits, with killers? To kill the citizens that they are supposed to protect, the citizens that are paying their salaries. Now, we read three: to uphold and advance the national policies in the interest of the United States. To uphold and advance the national policies and interests of the United States. Have your military done that? Have your presidency done that? The answer is no. Now we're going to go to number 4. Now remember, I am reading, this is not something that I made up. I am reading Executive Order 9877, Functions of the Armed Forces of the United States by Harry Truman. And that was July 26, 1947. Because, Nigerians say, oh, we practice democracy, presidential, democracy, whatever, whatever, America, America, America. That's what they keep talking. You see them yapping about America, our this, our that. In America, this doesn't have what. I mean, Nigerians live by slogan, not by action. Nigeria will tell you how they practice presidential, democracy like America, how they have states like America, whatever. But yet, in its true spirit, Nigerians don't practice democracy. Nigeria is a nation of slogans. That's it. Nothing else. Let's go to number 4. To safeguard internal security of the United States as directed by higher authority. To safeguard the internal security of the United States as directed by higher authority. Let's look at Nigerian Armed Forces. Have Nigerian Armed Forces secure internal or safeguarded the internal security of Nigeria? The answer is no. You have killing everywhere. You have bandits running amok. You have Fulani headsmen going here and there. The federal government paying them, Dambazua, pay them 100 billion naira so that they will stop killing. Did they stop killing? No. And Nigerians didn't, they couldn't think. Sometimes when I watch Nigerian TV, what is it called? Some of these, what are they called? I don't even remember them. Channel TV, whatever. And you just look at people. They would dress up with tie and whatever. They would dress more than the white man does, and they will be talking rubbish. You look at these people. These are supposed to be journalists, but they talk rubbish. I look at them and shake my head because Nigeria is a nation of fake people. They are cheap imitation of what is good. They corrupt everything. And when you look at their press, they are nothing but brand envelope journalists, all of them. None of them have the courage. Anyway, let's go on. Now we look at number 5. To conduct integrated operations on the land, on the sea, and in the air necessary for these purposes. And what are the purposes? In order to facilitate the accomplishment of the foregoing missions, the armed forces shall formulate integrated plans and make coordinated preparations. Each service shall observe the general principles and fulfill the specific functions outlined below, and shall make use of the personnel, equipment, and facilities of other services in all cases where economy and effectiveness would thereby be increased. Is your armed forces doing that? Are they doing that? So, we can go on and on and on, but I'm just, I have to bring this so that you guys will know. And this is an army that emphasizes on training, emphasis on training. It's not like your Nigerian army, a two army. That's what they are. But what I'm trying to tell you, Nigerians, is that your so-called Nigerian army have committed treason against the Nigerian state, and none of you are talking. None of you are saying anything. When the army chief of staff or the CDS, whatever they call them, will come out talk about patriotism, Nigerians are not patriotic anymore. You got to be patriotic, was your fatherland, your motherland, whatever, sisterland or brotherland, whatever he says. When I look at him, this man talking is not even doesn't even know what patriotism means. Because Nigeria is a nation of slogans. It feels good, they will say it. But in its true spirit, they don't practice it. When they say Nigeria is one, we Nigeria is one, Nigeria is one. Okay, what are you doing to make Nigeria one? Absolutely nothing. These are just slogans. In fact, they are doing the opposite to divide the country. And yet they will preach to you Nigeria is one. We got to maintain one Nigeria. Unity of Nigeria is indivisible. Nigeria is whatever. You look at these people. If you truly believe that Nigeria is one and must be one, then your actions have to speak for it by taking actions to unify the country, making sure that all components of the country feel satisfied and feel happy. But when your governance is simply for a few, you take all the resources. Instead of spending it on the people in the country to develop the country, to make the people happy, you put it in your pocket. And when the country people complain, send your talks that you call the police and the army to go after them. So, Nigerians, you guys don't know what you're in. It's gradual coming, but eventually you're going to know. Because I look at Nigeria and Nigerians, I see it's like somebody being swallowed by a python. First of all, it started, by from the leg, and the person is saying, "Oh, I can move my hands," nothing is happening. He is being swallowed, but he's talking about moving his hand. Can you move your legs? Can you get up? And he was saying, "Well, and nobody's getting up. Why should I get up? Because you all are going through the same." Nigerians are being swallowed gradually, but they don't know it. And you look at the Christian community, the Christian leaders, the Catholic Church as an example, the traditional church. When I say traditional church, I don't mean traditional in terms of African tradition. I mean traditional churches. These are like Catholic Church, the oldest churches, that, you have bishops, you have archbishops, you have all these people, they would dress up like God knows what. And they are preaching every Sunday to the choir. Your citizens of your church, they are losing their land, they are being killed, but you said nothing. The environment is changing. Instead of light is getting darker, and you say nothing. What does that make you? It means that you are not truly a man of God, that you are all part of the establishment. All that matters in Nigeria is money. You bring money to the pastor, you're a good man. You bring money to the priest, you're a good man. I remember when my mother passed away, I was home, and in order for the priests for them to do mass for her, they brought up this long sheet of paper, and he said they have projects. I should select what project to do for them before they will, you know, conduct the, mass for her. And I was looking at him, and my sibling said, "That's what is happening." I had to select one. But that is what your churches are doing today, your pastors, your priests are doing today. And that is why nobody speaks for you. And that is why when it comes to patriotism, as an example, you compare, Nigerians and the Biafrans. Let's look at Biafrans. They are fighting for their own country. They are devoted to that country. They are looking forward to that country. It's religion to them. That is patriotism. They are willing to build that country, even if they don't have infrastructure. They know that they will build it themselves. That is patriotism to your land, to your people, to your culture, to your linguistic group. You know, to the place that you call home. It means you have love for your people, love for your land, and you know that this is the place that you can be all you can be. There won't be any restriction. Nobody's going to hold you. There won't be any quota system. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, by the way, because you guys came to Earth Force, so your score, cutoff mark when you take exam should be higher than the other guy from the north." You'll be the best that you can be. Nothing is going to limit your dream but you. And that is what Biafra stands for. Endless prosperity, endless, endless joy. You know, Biafra stands for good. What does Nigeria stands for today? Look at Nigeria. There's no way you can pull Nigeria out of that hole. It's over. Because the hole that Nigeria is in was premeditated. Nigeria is a crime scene. People don't know. So you can't change it. What you can do is to disintegrate that country. That is the only choice that Nigerians have. And that's why I have to, in conclusion, I have to also preach to, the Middle Belt as an example. If you support the emergence of Biafra, if Biafra comes, the Middle Belt will be free because now you have an entity that will support you militarily and support you economically to be able to free yourself. So the Middle Belt should get up, support the emergence of Biafra because the emergence of Biafra will also pave the way to the liberation of the Middle Belt. And, when I look towards the West, you see, the West, they are playing games. They are not serious about Oduduwa nation. I don't see any seriousness there. Now, what I'm going to see is the moment that they know that Biafra is coming, that moment that they notice, okay, Nigeria is going to make that concession, Nigeria is going to give way for Biafra, you will see the activities in the West will kind of increase. Now, Oduduwa nation, that's what you'll be hearing. But in reality, when you look at it, do they have the structure for a nation? The answer is no. Are they prepared to be a nation? The answer is no. They are afraid to leave Nigeria. Believe me, the Yorubas, they are afraid to leave Nigeria. They are afraid to leave Nigeria. And in conclusion, I will say that Biafrans, you have a date with destiny. No matter what, no matter how hard the journey, is going to be, at the end of the day, you'll be successful and joy, prosperity. Oh my goodness. We will sing in our churches, sing in our homes. Imagine that day. They'll be dancing on the street. It's like King David when he was dancing and rejoicing. They'll be dancing, there will be drums, there will be everything. People will be rejoicing. I mean, the whole world would notice. The whole world would say, they will say, this fella, are they mad? Are they drunk? No, because we will acknowledge our God. Chukwu. We acknowledge him, for he is good. He is our God, and he has freed us from the hands of our enemies. And for us, the sky, the space is the limit. So I employ Biafrans to join hands together. It may be hard, things may be difficult. They may, at the end of the day, they may also throw in the rhodesian solution whereby the white Rhodesian government, which is now Zimbabwe, when they were under pressure, to decolonize, as an example, they were under pressure to end white minority rule. What Ian Smith did was to appoint Archbishop, I forgot his name, as the Prime Minister of Rhodesia in order to confuse people. Even though he was a black man, but at the same time, the power that be, Ian Smith was still the power, was still the power behind the scene. The Rhodesian army, they were still the power behind the scene. Everybody recognized that. Nobody recognized that government. And the liberation war continued with Mugabe and Joshua Nkomo, I think that was his name. They continued the liberation war. At the end of the day, Britain, because Rhodesia was supposed to be the British colony, but when whites in Rhodesia decided to assert independence from Britain, so Britain under Margaret Thatcher had to assert its rights over Rhodesia by bringing Rhodesia back under under the British, domination, and then they were able to bring about the independence of Rhodesia, which became Zimbabwe. So Nigeria may also throw that up. Because when you look at your people will be running here and there everywhere, eating in the mosque and eating wherever he wants to eat, because that means when you look at him, he is desperate. You ask yourself, why is he that desperate? If you know that you are an effective person, if you know that you are the one that can solve Nigeria problems, don't go do all that. Stay somewhere. They will come to you and say, look, we want you to be president. But when you are doing all these things, you're showing that you are desperate. And desperate people means they can do anything. And that is what Peter Obi is doing. It shows. My people, it shows. And this is where I'll say, it's late at night. I'll say good night, everybody. I will look forward to December 2nd. Goodbye.